Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of a quiet morning, the kind where the world hasn't quite woken up yet, and I'm staring into the mirror, tracing the lines on my face that weren't there a decade ago. My name's Connor, 37 years old, and I've got a life that's steady, if not spectacular. I've been married to Emily for 8 years now, and she's the heartbeat of everything I do. At 35, Emily's got this warmth that could light up the darkest room, a radiant smile that stops me in my tracks, and this knack for seeing beauty in the smallest things. She's always had an eye for elegance, fine jewelry, delicate pieces that shimmer under the light. But she's never once pushed me to stretch beyond what we can afford. We've built a modest life together in a small suburban home just outside Chicago. A little place with creaky floors and a backyard that's more weeds than grass. I work as a warehouse supervisor, pulling in just enough to keep us afloat. But luxuries? They're a distant dream. Still, I'd move mountains for Emily. Her happiness is my compass. And there's this one thing, this quiet longing of hers that I've always wanted to make real. I can still see her, clear as day, from a memory that's etched into my mind. We were walking downtown a couple of years back, bundled up against the biting wind, when we passed a jewelry store. She stopped, her breath fogging up the glass as she gazed at the necklaces inside delicate chains with tiny, sparkling pendants that seemed to dance under the display lights. Her eyes lit up, not with greed, but with a kind of quiet wonder that made my chest ache. That day, I promised myself I'd find a way to give her something like that. Something to make her feel as special as she makes me feel every single day. Fast forward to a few weeks ago, and that promise came roaring back to life. Emily was curled up on our worn-out couch, scrolling through her phone, when she gasped so loud I nearly dropped the coffee mug I was holding. She turned the screen to me, her eyes wide with excitement, and there it was, a stunning necklace. On some online listing, a delicate gold chain, so fine it looked like it could melt in your hand, with a sapphire pendant that caught the light like a piece of the midnight sky. Her voice was trembling with hope as she said, "Connor, isn't it just perfect?" I nodded, forcing a smile. But inside, my heart sank. I saw the price tag, $2,000, $2,000. That's more than I make in a month, more than we've ever spent on anything that wasn't a necessity. Guilt clawed at me because I knew I couldn't just swipe a card and make this happen. I had $800 saved up, scraped together. From overtime shifts at the warehouse, money I'd tucked away for emergencies. But seeing her face, that pure, unfiltered joy, I couldn't let it slip away. I decided right then to use every penny I had to try and make her dream real, even if it meant stretching myself thin. I reached out to the seller, a guy named Victor, through email. He was quick to reply, polite and to the point, agreeing to meet us at a quiet little coffee shop on the edge of town. A place called Brewhaven, with mismatched chairs and a faint smell of cinnamon in the air. The morning of the meeting, my stomach was in knots as Emily and I walked through the door, her hand squeezing mine with nervous excitement. We spotted Victor right away, sitting at a corner table with a small black case in front of him. He's older than I expected, maybe in his late 50s, with sharp gray eyes and a calm demeanor that made me feel both at ease and on edge at the same time. He stood to greet us, his handshake firm, his smile polite but unreadable, and gestured for us to sit. As we settled in, Victor slid the case across the table toward Emily, his voice smooth as he said, "Go ahead, take a look." My heart thudded as she opened it, her fingers trembling just a little. Inside, nestled on a bed of soft velvet, was the necklace, the same one from the listing. The sapphire caught the dim light of the coffee shop, throwing tiny blue sparks across the table, and Emily's breath hitched. She lifted it carefully from the case, holding it up as if it were made of glass, the delicate gold chain dangling between her fingers. Her voice was barely a whisper as she murmured, "It's even more beautiful in person." I could see the awe in her eyes, the way they shimmered with something close to reverence. And it made my chest tighten with both pride and dread. Victor leaned back in his chair, watching her with a faint, knowing smile. Then he spoke, his tone warm but calculated. "Why don't you try it on? There's a small mirror over there on the wall." He pointed to a dusty little frame hanging near the counter, reflecting the muted glow of the shop's lights. Emily hesitated, her gaze flicking to me, a hopeful smile tugging at her lips as if asking for permission. I couldn't say no to that look, not when her happiness was so close I could almost touch it. I nodded, managing a small grin despite the weight in my gut, and she beamed before stepping away toward the mirror, the necklace cradled in her hands. I'm sitting there, frozen, as the world seems to tilt beneath me. Emily returns from the mirror, the necklace still around her neck, the sapphire resting just above her collarbone like a stolen piece of the sky. I can barely breathe as Victor, with a slow, deliberate motion, reaches out and carefully unclasps it from her. His fingers brush her skin for a moment too long, and I feel a jolt of something dark twist in my gut. He places the necklace back into its velvet-lined case with the precision of a surgeon, snaps it shut, and slides it across the table toward her. His voice is low, almost intimate, as he says, "It's yours now." Emily doesn't flinch. She just nods, her lips curving into a soft "thank you" as her fingers graze the case. Accepting it like this is the most natural thing in the world. Like I'm not even here. I don't know where to look. My eyes dart from her face, calm, almost serene to Victor's unreadable expression. Then down to the scratched-up table between us. My hands are trembling, gripping my coffee cup so hard I'm surprised it doesn't shatter. The liquid inside is cold now, but I barely notice. There's a weight in my chest, heavy and suffocating, like someone's piled bricks on top of me. Anger burns hot, mixing with a raw, stinging humiliation that makes my throat tight. Heartbreak seeps in, too cold and sharp, cutting through everything else. I want to say something, to demand answers, to ask her how she could let this happen right in front of me. But I can't. Not here, not now, surrounded by the quiet hum of strangers in this coffee shop. Their murmured conversations a cruel reminder of how exposed I feel. Victor stands abruptly, breaking the moment. He offers a curt nod, not even a glance in my direction, and turns to leave. His polished shoes click against the tiled floor, each step echoing in my ears like a countdown to something I can't name. Then he's gone, the door swinging shut behind him with a soft thud, leaving just Emily and me in this suffocating silence. The ride home from Brewhaven feels like it stretches on forever, though it's just a few miles. The silence between Emily and me is thicker than the fog rolling in over the suburbs, and I can't bring myself to break it. My hands grip the steering wheel tight, knuckles pale as I wrestle with the storm inside me. When we finally pull into the driveway, the familiar sight of our little house doesn't bring any comfort. I cut the engine, and for a moment, we just sit there, the air heavy with everything I'm too afraid to say. I step out first, the gravel crunching under my boots, and head to the front door. As I push it open, the creak of the hinges cuts through the quiet like a scream. It's louder than I remember, sharper, as if the house itself is holding its breath, waiting for the inevitable. Emily follows behind me, her steps soft but deliberate, the small black case clutched in her hand. We walk into the kitchen, the dim light casting long shadows across the worn linoleum floor. She sets the case down on the counter, her movements slow, almost ceremonial, like she's placing an offering or a challenge. I stand a few feet away, watching her, waiting for something, anything, to spill out of me. But the words don't come. A part of me is raging, burning to let loose, to shout until the walls shake. to demand how she could let that moment with Victor unfold right in front of me, how she could accept that necklace with such ease while I sat there breaking. I want to ask what it meant, that lingering touch, that quiet exchange, as if I wasn't even in the room. But there's another part of me, heavier, hollowed out, that's too shattered to face her answer. What if it's worse than I imagine? What if the truth rips away the last threads holding us together? I can't bear to find out. So I just stand there, staring at the back of her head as she faces away from me. Her shoulders still, her silence louder than any confession. In that moment, a memory flickers to life, unbidden. Days turned into weeks after that moment in the kitchen, and somehow, Emily and I just kept going. We slipped back into the rhythm of our lives as if nothing had shattered between us at Brewhaven. I'd wake up before dawn, drag myself to the warehouse for another grueling shift, my hands sore from lifting crates, my mind numb from the monotony. Emily would be at home, tending to the little things, watering the patchy plants in the backyard, dusting the shelves, humming softly to herself as if the air wasn't thick with unspoken words. Our conversations became a kind of performance, polite and shallow, like we were reading lines from a script. "How was your day?" she'd ask over dinner, her voice light. And I'd mumble something about forklifts or inventory, never meeting her eyes. We danced around the truth, pretending the fracture in our foundation wasn't there, growing wider with every forced smile. I'd catch glimpses of that necklace sometimes, tucked away in her jewelry box when she left the lid open by mistake. The sapphire would glint under the bedroom light, sharp and cold, like a taunt I couldn't escape. It was a cruel reminder of that day, of the way Victor's fingers lingered where they shouldn't have, of the way Emily accepted it all without a flicker of hesitation. But she never wore it, not once. It sat there, untouched, as if even she couldn't bear to face the weight of how it came to be hers. I wondered if she felt the same sting I did, or if she'd buried it deeper than I ever could. As for me, I shoved my pain down so far I could almost pretend it wasn't there. I focused on the mundane to keep myself from unraveling counting shipments at work, fixing the leaky faucet in the bathroom, mowing the uneven lawn until my arms ached. Anything to keep my hands busy, my thoughts quiet. But late at night, when the house was still and Emily's breathing softened beside me, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling. My mind would drag me back to that coffee shop, replaying every detail, the way her eyes lit up for that necklace, the way everything seemed to change in that moment. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.